Hello everyone, and welcome back to the third innings. My name is Maxwell Charlesoff, and alongside me is my good friend Prasuk Jain, and we're here to give you the rundown of the end of the first day of the IPL Mega Auction 2022. We're going to start with Prasuk giving us CSK's analysis for the day.
Well, it was a fascinating day of the first day of Tata IPL's auction,
No
and
longer Viva.
no longer we were. So for all the sponsorship contacts, we are here,
Mhm.
Tata. CSK was a mixed bag actually. They are basically creating the same team as they had last year,
Mhm.
which is probably not a bad idea because they won the championship.
Aye.
But they are in a need of bowlers.
Yeah.
Um, Although they have three bowlers in their squad,
Mm.
it contains a lot of inexperience,
Yeah.
and they
They've
probably
got
lack.
they've got the three bowlers in Deepak Chahar, KM Asif, Tushar Deshpande. And then they've got a couple of rounders in Moeen Ali and Ravindra Jadeja as well. So I
Yeah,
think I can see what you mean. They overpaid for Deepak Chahar,
yeah,
and that leaves them a little bit light on the bowling front. Because I don't see a scenario where you can really drop a couple of these bowlers and still be okay.
exactly, and they're not helping their average age as
Mm,
compared to last year because they still have the 42-year-old Dwayne Bravo,
mm. MS
and
Dhoni.
MS Dhoni as well. And they got Amity Rayudu back, and
Mm.
probably they get Suresh Raina tomorrow. So, although they still have a lot of money in their bank, they still have 20.45 crores left in their bank.
Mm.
So they can still go for a couple of overseas unsold players from today,
Yeah.
or some young uncapped bowlers if they want,
Mm.
which they need. So yeah, CSK needs to do some rethinking tonight,
Mm.
and hopefully for them it will be a better day tomorrow.
Yeah, I think so too. On to the next team. Coincidentally, this is your team, Prasuki, the Delhi Capitals. They have a remaining purse of 16.5 crore. How do you think they went today?
I'm very happy as a Delhi Capitals fan. Very happy with how things went for them. Let's
Mm-hmm.
put it like that, because they got a lot of steals, a lot of cheap buys,
Yeah.
and I think their squad is looking very solid, very stable. They already almost have a playing 11 that
Mm.
they would have for each and every game. The one thing that they can look for tomorrow is a few batsmen. So although they have experience, they can still use a couple of number three, number four type of batsmen. So they have a good opening pair. They have good middle order and lower order all
Yeah.
rounders in Lord Thakur as well. But,
Well, I think they did
but
really well with getting Lord Thakur, and I think they were able to do that with the way they retained their players. So retaining Anrik Nokia for 6.5 crore, and Privy Shaw even at 7.5, who maybe his performances don't warrant a higher price than that, but the hype around the name probably would maybe see him expect maybe mid eights or something like that. But
yeah,
they paid high for Rishabh Pant, but for a reason. So that left them the ability to get Shardul Thakur and set them up for a good season. Mitchell Marsh as well, overseas all rounder, which can sometimes be difficult to get, but he will provide hard hitting middle over batting and a couple decent overs in a game, perhaps.
yeah, exactly. Given the form that he is in, and given the fact that Delhi had let go of Marcus Stoinis,
Hmm.
so Mitchell Marsh comes in sort of a like for like replacement,
Yep.
pro- probably even better. And if Delhi gets that 2 overs per game, sort of a sixth bowling option from him,
Hmm.
then that would really be game changing.
Hmm. How do you feel as a Delhi fan having Warner and Shaw open the batting this year?
Very happy. It's going to be fireworks.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully, Warner started his career from Delhi,
Mm-hmm.
and it's probably sort of closing the circle. Very happy for him to be back, and I hope he has a thing or two to prove from last year,
Yeah.
not from the Australian T20 World Cup, but from last year's IPL when he was dropped
Mm.
from the team. So I hope he has a thing or two to prove, and he still has a couple of years left in him. And Prithvi Shaw and David Warner, if they both get going, it's going to be a very good power play to watch.
Yeah. I think so too. onto another team in blue, the Mumbai Indians. They've got quite a large purse left. They've got still 27.85 crores left in the bank, and really hardly any players. They've got 8 players signed up, one of which is completely untested in Dewar Brevis, who, yes, did have a really good under-19 World Cup, but it's an under-19 World Cup and not the IPL. So what do you think of their current situation they're in, and how are they going to track tomorrow with not that many game-winning players out on the roster?
It was very bizarre watching the auction because it seemed like Mumbai is waiting for someone to spend that 15 crore price tag again, but that never came to happen. That never happened, and players came and went, and Mumbai was just sitting there.
Mm.
They went behind a couple of spinners as they really need a spinner. They don't have any spinner in their squad right now. They did go behind Rahul Chahar and Yuzvendra Chahal, but they lost in the although they have a huge purse, they still gave up the bidding.
Yeah.
Don't know why, but it's very strange what their strategy is here, and hopefully for them they have a couple of players in mind who were unsold today that they want to go behind. Otherwise, it's completely different from their template of having that solid core, that winning combination, because it's completely looking opposite this time.
I think one thing with Mumbai that could be said in favor of them is, even though they've only got 8 players on the list, 6 of those are probably starting every game.
Yep.
So they do have that big core there, and with some big names of, Bumrah, Pollard, Sharma, and Suryakumar Yadav, along with Ishan Kishan now as well. They've got some big names there, and really the core of the team is there. So they could stock up on uncapped players, but then that risks the depth of their team not being so great, and that's an issue they could run into.
But it's the bowling that comes under pressure, because as of now the bowling is completely under Bumrah.
Yeah.
And it's going to be difficult if they have to depend on his 4 overs every single game.
Yeah.
And with Ishi Kishi, it could be a case of price tag pressure. I don't think he expected to go for 15 crores, and that could play a part on his mentality. But we'll have to see.
Yeah. All right. So we're talking about David Warner earlier on the move to DC, the team that dropped him last year at Sunrisers Hyderabad. They've got kind of a middling purse remaining of 20.35 crores. What do you reckon of their situation?
Again, it was quite strange how they went about in the auction, because they were not bidding for anything initially. And then as soon as we had the uncapped players, especially the all-rounders listed, they just went all in, and they got a lot of bowlers and all-rounders from that category. And now their squad is filled with Indian players. They just have 2 overseas players so far, one of which was retained from last year. So in the auction, they haven't really gone behind any overseas player. They lack a spinner in their side, as well as an experienced Indian batter. So again, everything is dependent on Kane Williamson, and dependency on him, like last year, it can backfire, and it's going to be very difficult to expect those uncapped batters to perform each and every game.
Yeah, true. Like, I can see the main spinner that they've got right now is Washington Sundar, and at 8.75 crore, he had a couple good knocks recently for India, but I think they're trying to use him more in that all-rounder role down the order than a main spinner.
Yeah, exactly. And we have seen over the years that in T20, it's very important to have a wrist spinner. You being a wrist spinner would understand that more than anyone else. But that's what they're lacking, because Washington Sundar doesn't turn the ball. And the IPL is going to be on 3 fixed venues. So there's going to be a lot of overusage of the same pitches. It's going to be a lot of wear and tear, and the ball might turn at the end. Towards the end, and you can fancy a leggy or any kind of wrist spinner in your side, which they are missing right now.
Yeah, that's true. But that being said, they also have a very, like you said earlier, they've already filled up on local players, and so their list is basically complete, even though they have still 20 crores remaining. So I think they're in a decent position. as well. On to what was probably the best team so far. They had the best day today, the Rajasthan Royals. At least that's the way it looked coming up into the last round. What do you make of the moves they made today?
They have had the best combination of experience and balance today. Um so whatever, basically whatever they came with a plan, it seemed like,
Mm,
and they have a good balance in terms of they have a good solid opening partnership. They have a good middle order. They have all rounders. They have settled bowlers. And if you look at the squad, it doesn't feel like who is this guy and who is that guy.
mm,
Everyone you know of. Everyone would probably know their roles as well. And with them for tomorrow, it's just going to be a matter of filling up their squad with
yeah,
players. As also don't have a lot of money left in their purse, so it's a perfect situation for them. They can sleep easy, and then tomorrow just get some cheap buys.
yeah. I think one of the question marks I have around is if they paid too much for Shimron Hetmyer.
True.
I think 8.5 is probably two crores too many for my liking. I think 6.5, based on not just performances really. Not just in recent form, but also in IPLs gone past. I think he can win you games, but you can't bank on him to win you the game. So I think 6.5 for a player like that, maybe other than 8.5. But really, they had the money to spend. And maybe now it doesn't look like it, but at the time when they bought him, they had a decent enough purse left. So I can see why they
No,
did.
that's true, absolutely. And since they got rid of David Miller, they had to fill in that role,
Yeah,
and another left hand bang bang sort of a player comes in.
yeah,
And although, yeah, he could have been sold for 2 crores less, but I
mm,
think they'll be happy with the role that is filled,
yeah,
with his position batting at 5-6 and
yeah,
then hitting 30 of 10 balls at the end,
yeah.
provided he does that.
And they were kind of able to do it by having retained Yashasvi Jaiswal at a 4 crore.
Yeah,
So that
yeah,
really freed up
exactly.
the purse to be able to do that. On to the next one. We have the Kolkata Knight Riders. They've got a remaining purse at 12.65 crores at the end of the day. They have, similar to CSK, their strategy is retaining a lot of players from last year. However, Pat Cummins is one of those players that took a big price dip in what he went for this year. And I think that's not unreasonable based on his performances last year with the side. What do you think of KKR's actions?
No, it's exactly rightly put. They mostly have the same team, and with Pat Cummins, I still think, given his performance, still he was a bargain.
Mm,
Um, Sorry for that.
no,
He was a bargain, and he is someone who provides that leadership role as well as uh, all-round abilities with the bat and the ball. So he
mm,
can really win you games. But they still need a bit of experience and a couple of batters in their side to
mm.
be secure and happy.
Yeah, that's true. I think with the experience, he got a little bit Nitish Rana. Then he got Dre Russ and Venki Iyer a little bit, but you can't
Yeah,
really say
exactly.
experience for him. Shreyas Iyer a bit more now, and he went for 10 crore over asking price at 12 crore.
Yeah,
But yeah, I'm interested to see how they'll use Sunil Narayan this year as well. I
that's
think
true. Yeah, if he still opens the batting, it's going to
yeah,
be interesting. And with the bowling as well, I think he took a dip in his bowling last year.
mm,
He was easily or better readable,
yeah,
and yeah, I mean it's going to be very interesting with them.
yeah. Uh, I think that's pretty much KKR. On to note that last year they changed their name from the Punjab Super Kings to now they're just the Punjab Kings. They've got a whopping purse remaining of 28.65 crores at the end of the day. What do you think their strategy will be tomorrow based on the list they have now?
Um, they did have some solid buys, some heavy, expensive buys,
Mm,
and although that happened, they still have a strong purse left. What they need to do right now is look for some all rounders, some genuine all rounders,
mhm,
But having said that, I think that they still missed out on some other heavy buys. I mean, they did go behind Shah Rukh Khan, for example,
Mm.
although they could have retained him for a lesser price than that.
Mhm.
But there were still a couple of heavy buys they could have gone behind.
Yeah.
They might regret that because they still have a lot of money left.
Yeah.
But yeah, they won't be the most disappointed team right now.
No, they're heavily stocked up on local players as well. They have got some batting in Mayank Agarwal, Shikhar Dhawan, and Shah Rukh Khan. And they've also got Arshdeep Singh, Rahul Chahar, and Kisar Rabada. And then they got Johnny Bairstow at probably, well, I think is pretty much the correct price at 6.75 crores. I think
Exactly.
that'll get you Johnny Bairstow.
Yeah.
As a play, and it did. Rabada going for 9.25 crores. I don't think was so surprising. I think that was kind of given. On to the next one. They spent over 10 crore on 4 different players: Kohli, Maxwell, Hasaranga, and Harshal Patel, plus 7 crore on Hazelwood and Duplessis. They've got 9.25 crore left in the bank. It's the Royal Challengers Bangalore, having finished 3rd last year. What do you think this team is going to get them to this year?
They spent a lot. I think they spent too much money on those. I mean, although Kohli and Maxwell were retained,
Hmm.
but I think they still spent too much on Hasaranga and Harshal Patel.
Hmm.
Again, Harshal Patel they could have retained for cheaper. They didn't. If they wanted to buy him again, but Hazelwood was sold for a bargain,
Mm-hmm.
so that sort of compensates for the expensive buys.
Yeah.
They do need a little bit of experience in the top order.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say three of. I mean, obviously they have a solid opening partnership in Duplessis and Kohli, but it's risky for them to bat Maxwell at 3 in each and every game.
Yeah.
So that's going to be something that they can look for, number 3 and 4. But otherwise, their bowling and all-round department looks pretty settled.
I think so too. I think they're in for a decent year, but like you said, I think they got a couple of hit or miss players in their middle order.
Yeah.
It's also interesting to see how Faf goes this year. He's obviously getting on as well, and when you get to that stage in your career, you just got to kind of take it year by year.
At least it helps with reducing the average age of Chennai Super Kings.
Well, there's the first new team on the block, but the secondly named new team on the block. That is the Gujarat Titans, formerly known as the Gujarat Lions. They're a new team. They have a purse remaining of 18.85 crores at the end of the day. And I think they had some really good retentions, quote unquote, even though they weren't a team last year, in Rashid Khan, Shubman Gill, and Hardik Pandya. I think that was I think it's a game-winning core of players to start your team off with. What do you think of their current lineup?
No, of course, it's a good start that they have. They still have a good purse remaining for any corrections that they want to do tomorrow. Although they are a little bit short on overseas players, they still got some really good buys like Jason Roy.
Yeah.
For 2 crores, he's someone who can change the game. In the first 5 overs, he can win you the game. Similar to Johnny Bairstow, but Johnny Bairstow was still 6.75.
Yeah.
And Jason Roy is just 2 crores at the base price. So they did get some steals. They got Ferguson and Shami as well. So good, proper, genuine pacers. Something that they can look for is probably a couple of all-rounders tomorrow. But I think they are pretty settled, and I think being a Gujarat fan, you should be very, very happy with how things went today.
Oh, I'm very happy. Any team that has Rashid Khan in, I am happy with. But yeah, I think they got good pace in Lockie Ferguson. They got decent bats in Jason Roy as well as Shubman Gill, of course. And they got Hardik Pandya to add a bit of X factor into the middle kind of lower order as well. So I'm happy with how they're set up, and I agree with what you said in that if they feel they made any mistakes today, they have enough money to kind of sort it out tomorrow. They also were part of that.
Sorry.
they were part of that bidding war over Sai Kishore, the under-19 bowler.
True.
A base price of 20 lakhs and went for 3 crore, as well as Noor Ahmed, the Afghani under-19 bowler as well, the left arm leggy.
The left arm Rashid Khan.
Left arm Rashid Khan. So I'm really excited for Gujarat coming up this year. And on to the second new team for the Tata 2022 IPL, the Lucknow Super Giants. They have the worst name in the IPL. I hate it, and I hate them because of it. What do you think of their strategy today, and how did they end up at the end of the day?
I think it was the strategy was similar to their name. It was very strange. They have the lowest purse left, and still they it's not like they bought a lot of players. They still lack a lot of players. They just have 10 players, if I'm not wrong, and with just 6.9 crores left, they can't do much. So they have to rely on uncapped and cheap buys, and it's going to be very difficult. I think they do have good middle order and all rounders, but again, if you are depending on your middle order, then you're basically wasting the power play. And in T20, the power play is very, very important. They do need some top order batting, and
I think they would probably open with KL Rahul and Quinton de Kock. Of course, they retained KL Rahul for 17 crore at the end of last season. And then in that middle order, you probably want Jason Holder, Krunal Pandya, Marcus Stoinis somewhere in there as well, and Deepak Huda. And that's a decent setup. And then you got Pace and Mark Wood, and you've also got Avesh Khan and Ankit Rajput in the bowling department, as well as Ravi Bishnoi. So I think they're pretty set up, but I agree with what you're saying. They have 11 players on their list, and they just don't have the money to build depth in squad that would win a tournament. You know, they'd probably win 8 out of the first 10 games, maybe. That's probably unlikely, probably a bit less. But then injuries and maybe some other duties, towards the end of the tournament, they could be struggling.
Yeah, exactly. And similar to RCB, just the opening partnership, the opening combination looks good. And then suddenly you move into the all-rounders, into the middle order. So that 3-4, number 3, number 4, sort of a gluing the top order and the middle order is lacking here.
Yeah.
And with the bowling as well, they have good bowlers. They got Mark Wood with experience, the pace and everything. But they might look for, or they might have looked for an Indian experienced bowler.
Yeah.
But they don't have enough money for that anymore. So they are not ready for any injury concerns or any national commitment. If for instance, Australia or England have to leave.
Yeah, that's true. Well, that is the roundup for the teams. We're going to give a quick couple overpaid, underpaid, and unsold players we want to have a quick mention to, and then we'll wrap up for today. So I thought Deepak Chahar, 14 crore, was a lot of money for Deepak Chahar to go to CSK. What do you think about that?
I think it's a matter of what you do 1 week before the IPL auction, and just the fact that he scored runs and took wickets against West Indies doubled his price tag. He would still have gone. I'm sorry. He would have still gone for a high price given his past performances, and probably CSK would have bought him no matter what. But just the fact that other teams were interested was because of his recent performance.
Yeah. I think another player that was probably overpaid for is Ishan Kishan. But I think Mumbai Indians were always going to be willing to pay a lot for him. So I don't think it's that surprising that he went for 15 crore. I think it's just too much.
Now, of course, they would have retained him if they had the option to. And it was obvious that they are going to go for him no matter what. But still, it's a little too much for someone who is not even playing for the national team. And again, as I said before, it might also be a little negative in terms of putting a price tag pressure on his performance, given the fact that he's so young and inexperienced. So that's going to be seen on how Mumbai Indians support him and expect from him after this price.
Yeah. There's a couple of underpaid players today, at least in my opinion. We mentioned before Josh Hazlewood to RCB for 7.75 crores. Sorry, that was I think a steal of the day. Is there any other ones that you think went for too cheap?
I think we mentioned Jason Roy as well,
Mhm.
sold at base price 2 crores to Gujarat. He's someone again who he can win you games within the power play. So similar to Mustafizur,
Mhm.
again going for the base price of 2 crores. I was happy with that because he was sold to Delhi.
Mhm.
Although he had a dip in his performance, he's still someone who gives that left arm
Yeah.
angle, which is a bit different, and he is experienced in the T20 format. So that's going to be he's going to be very crucial
Yeah.
as long as the teams can manage, of course, the overseas limit of
Yeah.
4. And of course, Mitchell Marsh
Mhm.
again to Delhi. We spoke about him before as well. He was sold for 6.5 crores,
Yeah.
and I think he's a very good addition because he can provide you things. He can provide you skills with bat and ball,
Yeah.
and experience, of course, of winning a World Cup for his country. Very good. Very happy for these players, of course, and for Delhi Capitals.
Yeah. Yeah. Of course, some players didn't go sold at all today. Maybe they have a chance to get sold tomorrow. Normally, well, every year this list is filled with oftentimes overseas spinners. We saw the same last year and this year. So we got Adil Rashid went unsold, Adam Zampa, Mujib Rahman, Mohammad Nabi, all spinners. Nabi more of an all-rounder, of course, and Sam Billings, a man who seems to be on the up and on the up. Didn't manage to get picked up today. Do you think he has a chance of getting picked up tomorrow, or do you think that's madness?
He could be because there are a couple of teams who are lacking that middle order overseas batsman.
Mm.
Uh, but I don't think anyone would be willing to pay a lot for him. So if
Yeah.
he can be bought for the base price,
Mhm.
but still similar to what happened last year, he doesn't get a lot of games
Mhm.
simply because he's an overseas player, and almost all the teams have that 4 core overseas players
Yeah.
that play the game. So unless someone is injured, it's difficult for him to get a game, which is a shame, of course. As you said, he's on the up and up.
Mm.
He recently got his test cap as well.
Mhm.
But that's the game, and that's similar to what happened with other overseas spinners as well,
Mhm.
getting um, unsold.
Yeah. All right. Well, that is all we have for you today from us here at the third innings. Make sure to tune in tomorrow for our analysis of the end of the IPL Mega Auction 2022. My name has been Maxwell Charles Earth. I've been with Prasuk Jain, and we look forward to seeing you next time.
And leave in your comments
Mhm.
what you thought was the outcome of today's day of auction. How do you think? And let us know which are your favorite teams and which if you support the new teams as well. And thank you.
Definitely. All right. See you tomorrow.